What?
And but that plane was leaving that next day, and I just told Margie, I said, "Fine, get me a cab to come and get me."
Don't play no games with me, honey. Don't be trying to leave me here.
But it was so bad. The concussion was so bad. When we got to New York, they wouldn't even let me fly on to California. Um, had to stay in New York.
And what you have felt? You have felt just walking around or
No,
something?
it was raining, and they said that the storm was so bad we all had to leave, and it was just wet, 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 wet.
Mm.
And when I walked out, my head hit that cement. That's the
Ah.
only thing I remember. I remember this man saying, "Hold her head," because those streets are cobblestones, and so they and the ambulance, the driver
Mm.
said, we told the one guy, "Get up, go back there, and just hold her head, just do
Mm.
it, hold her head."
Yeah.
So when I finally got to the hospital, it's strange. They don't feed you. It's free.
Oh yeah.
But your family have to bring you the food, and I was there 2 days, not eating, didn't have no clothes,
Whoa.
and some lady I saw walking down, and I called her. I said, "Ma'am, do you speak English?" She said, "Yes." What is? I said, "My plane is leaving. I have no one here. Call me a cab, get me out of here." So she said, "Let me talk to them and see if they'll release you." So she came back. She said, "No." They said a concussion is too bad. They won't release you. She said, "But there's a rule that you can sign yourself out.
Oh.
But the doctors have to say, and somebody have to witness that you was told not to leave. So they won't be sued." I
Oh.
said, "Bring whomever you want."
Let me go. I gotta go.
I never been so sick. So when I got
And
to the hotel, Margie had me packed all of my clothes and everything. I said, "Margie, just had them to wait a minute. I'm getting me a shower before
yeah.
I get up
Yeah.
there."
So
Yep.
she wasn't even able to bring you no food or nothing either? Because it
Mhm.
only could be family?
Yeah. They evidently she never knew what hospital I was at. And the one
What?
lady that planned the trip, she came there, and I don't know why she didn't tell Margie, because Margie was my friend. This was the tour guide of the lady
Yeah.
that planned the trip, like Connie Potts. So yeah, it was a trip from hell. But the sight, the Leaning Tower of Pisa, is
Oh,
something everyone should see.
wow.
To just see this building leaning for
Yeah.
what, 400 or 500 years,
Yeah.
it was just spellbound. I just spent most of my time glazing up at
Yeah.
that. It
Yeah.
was really nice. And the Vatican, I was pleased with it until I fell, and then I don't want to see the Vatican no more. And see, they were saying you need to sue, but how do you sue a church or
Yeah.
God?
Yeah.
But no, it was really terrible. And I
Yeah.
still have problem in my head today.
Well,
Even
do
yeah,
you? And that was what, 2019, huh?
yeah, in 2021, I had to have brain surgery at the UCSF on
What?
September 21st. I had brain surgery. Is that your phone or mine?
No, that's yours.
I thought I turned
Are
it
you
off.
serious?
Yeah, but still, you can't mess with
Brain surgery, Miss Brown?
June, September the 21st at UCSF.
What?
Yeah,
So it's been less than a year ago.
everybody sees, but nobody knows.
Huh?
Yeah.
No, hold on. Hello? Oh. Is it 2 o'clock?
Yes,
Oh.
it's 2:08.
Hello, Paul. Hey, welcome everyone. Hey everyone. Welcome everyone to our celebration of Juneteenth. The actual day of the celebration is June 19th. And I'll give you a little bit more information about the history of Juneteenth. But I also want to say happy Pride to everyone. Also, happy belated Father's Day to all of the men who have been present in their child's life. We honor you today. So, just to tell you a little bit about Juneteenth, It is officially started on June 19th of 1865. Enslaved Americans in Texas were notified by Union Civil War soldiers about the abolition of slavery. This was nearly 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was ratified, which freed all enslaved Americans within Confederate states. But we do know that slavery continues in many forms today in our country. But we want to keep the conversation going. But I wanted to acknowledge the national holiday today of being Juneteenth. Let me tell you about who I am. My name is Karan Brinson. I'm an educator. I've been an educator in Chicago and now Oakland for the past 7 years. I'm an activist. I'm a Southerner. And now I'm the content manager for Grade School Voices. And I am very, very happy to continue our Oakland Educator series, which has previously highlighted Roberta Parker, who dedicated nearly 30 years of her life as an Oakland educator. You can read that article on greatschoolvoices.org if you haven't already. And now, as our second part of our educator series, we are happy to celebrate this Juneteenth holiday. And I'm very eager to hear from the legend, the champion, the phenomenal woman, Mrs. Ora Lee Brown. Also, her piece can be found in GSV as well. She has received so many numerous awards, just to name a few. Named the Woman of the Year for the year 2000 by Senator Don Parada and Assembly Member Audie Bach. Honored at the Black History Month Awards sponsored by Union Bank of California and KQED. Selected as among the 10 most influential African Americans in the Bay Area. Diamond of the Bay Award for Community Service by the National Basketball Wives Association. California Lottery awardee. The Pioneer Achievement Award by the National Coalition of 100 Black Women. Humanitarian of the Year, East Bay Agency. We can continue on. National Jefferson awardee in 2013, seen on ABC News, NBC Nightly News, extra CNN coverage, Oprah Winfrey Show, everything. We are so here. Let us welcome Mrs. Ora Lee Brown to the GSV podcast.
Thank you.
We are so very happy to have you. Mrs. Brown, what does Juneteenth mean to you?
Well, first of all, a Mississippian. I was born and reared in Mississippi, so I was in Oakland, California in 1963. Was the first time I heard of Juneteenth.
Wow.
So they received notice 2 years after we never received it in Mississippi.
Almost 100 years later, when you found out about Juneteenth yourself.
Yeah, that I was supposedly free.
Wow. So how does that Juneteenth holiday, how does it connect to you? You kind of already talked about it as a Black girl growing up in Mississippi.
Well, 2 years later, 100 years later, justice is not always right. But even when it comes delayed, it's better than never. So I'm proud and glad that President Biden signed a holiday last year, and it's official now. So it brings awareness to it. And even though I think about half of the states are celebrating officially today, the other half will come on board. It takes time. It shouldn't.
Yes, ma'am.
It really should not, but it does. And so we just have to continue to fight in the struggle for equality.
Amen. The struggle and the fight never ends. So we're just happy that we acknowledge in our Juneteenth holiday and Miss Ora Lee Brown. So while we're also at it, as we gather today as a GSV family, we will be remiss not to honor the late, great Dirk Tillerson in our space today. And I know that he really meant a lot to you, Miss Ora Lee Brown. Can you tell me a little bit about y'all connection?
Yes, I met maybe 30 years ago. And at that time, I had been asked to do a district school in Oakland. So Dirk and I spoke about it. And he said, well, you know what, you really need to do something. So let me go ahead and do the paperwork and get everything filled out because I think you need to do the school. And of course, he did. Dirk was good. He had 2 or 3 schools in New York that he got and worked on and got them, brought them up to fruition. And even my school that I really was going to do at that time, we received the approval. But there was a stumbling block because I was not pleased with the direction that the district school would have taken.
Okay.
And so after he and I discussed it a couple of months, I wrote the state and informed them that at this point I would decline the opportunity to do a district school because it was not addressing the problem that I saw here in the city of Oakland.
Yeah. And how many years ago was that, Ms. Brown? When you,
I want to say that was 11, 10, 11, so 12, 13 years ago.
Okay. And that vision is still alive and well, and we're going to talk a little bit about that
Absolutely.
in a little bit, Miss Orly Brown. But thank you for acknowledging our ancestor, Dirk. I just want to say for my own self, thank you, Dirk, just for being a friend, a mentor, and just an inspiration to me, and just believing in me when others did not believe in me. Dirk always believed in me. So I'm just very, very honored to still be working with his creation, Great School Voices.
Yes.
So one of our connections that I learned about you was when I first moved out here to Oakland in 2015, and I was a parent organizer for a educational nonprofit here in Oakland. And as I was being introduced to like educational warriors, folks in the community doing the work, folks told me, you got to talk to Miss Brown. You cannot be in East Oakland. You cannot be in the city of Oakland unless you able to break bread with you, Miss Brown. And they all talked about this promise, right? I've read the book before. It's a beautiful, well-written book, and I was inspired for it. Can you tell me a little bit about the promise?
Well, the promise came, I don't know, I want to say divine in some sense. It was 1987, and at that time, and still is, I'm a real estate broker, and every morning around 9 o'clock, I would go to the store and get me a bag of Spanish peanuts and a Pepsi. And this particular morning, as I'm on 94th and East 14th Street, a little boy said to me, "Lady, will you please give me a quarter?" And I looked down. I had a
quarter.
A quarter.
What's that going to get you?
I'm telling you. And I had a $5 bill.
Okay.
And I said to her, "I'm going to the store. Come on, go with me." And so she and I crossed the line and went to the store. When she walked in, she stopped, and I said, "Get whatever you want, baby." And she picked up a loaf of Wonder Bread.
Huh?
And again, when I looked, she was fearful. I said, "No, baby, get whatever you want." And I walked away.
Okay.
She got bologna and she got cheese, and she gave it to me, and I took it up to the counter.
No candy.
No candy, no potato chips, nothing.
Wow.
And
okay.
Al said to me, "Miss Brown, where's your soda?" Because I said, "No, I need to get this today."
Yes,
and so he rang it up, and it was $5.87. And I said, "I'll bring you." He said, No. He went and got a bag of peanuts, and he bought the soda and gave it to me. I said, "I'll bring your money back." He said, "No."
That's love right there.
Yeah, so I walked out. And I gave it to her. And I said, "Baby, where's your mother?" She said, "At home." I said, "Do you go to school?" She said, "Sometimes." She put her little head down, and I didn't say another word. The light changed. She went down the street. I went to the office. Mr. Lowe was my broker.
Okay.
And he said, "Miss Brown, what's wrong?" I said, "Nothing." He said, "Something is wrong." I said, "I'm okay." I went in my office and I picked up the phone. I called my brother. My brother's real religious.
Okay.
EQ. I said, "EQ, let me tell you what happened." I told him the story. He said, well, or you did what you could. I said, no, we need, he said, or you did what you could. It became an obsession in my head. I would go to sleep, and she was the only thing that when I closed my eyes, I saw her.
Wow.
So after about a week, I came to the office one day and I called the Brookfield School and I asked who was the principal. They said a lady named Yolanda Peaks. And I said,
Brookfield Elementary School.
I said, may I speak to her? So I told her the story. She said, well, we have 2 first grade classes. Are you near? I said, yes, I can come now. So I went to the office. She took me to the first classroom. The little girl was not there. So I'm excited because I know she'll be in the next classroom. I went to the next classroom and I said, Mrs. Peaks, she's not here. And Mrs. Peaks looked at me and said, who are you?
Like, who's this weirdo, right?
I said, Miss Peaks, may I adopt the class? She said, adopt the class and do what?
Yeah.
And I stood there. I said, I'll give them $10,000 a year and I'll pay for their college if they finish. And she immediately said, let's go to my office. It was like, let's go to my office.
I don't blame Miss Peaks on that one. She changed that tune.
She said, and what are you going to do, young lady? I said, I just want to do whatever it takes to help them to finish high school and go to college. She said, well, first of all, Dr. Allen Young is the superintendent. We must contact him. We will have to do a background check on you.
Oh, yeah.
And the whole bit.
Oh, yeah.
It took almost over a month. And one day she called me and she said, Miss Brown, are you nearby? I said, yeah. She said, you want to come by the office? I said, sure. I jumped in my car. And I'm just knowing the girl is there. When I walked in the class, Carolyn, who was her secretary, said, Mrs. Brown should be right with you. So I'm sitting there, I'm nervous. And so I walked. She said, well, we did a background check. Everything is fine on you. Which class do you want? And I said, give me the one you don't think will make it. That's who I'm here to try to help.
Amen.
When I went to my car, I could not drive. It was like, what have you done? I'm making $45,000 a year.
Okay.
I'm not giving away $10,000. You know, you got to pay your tithe for the church. Yeah. I ended up having $29,000. But the one consolation that kept me and sustained me, I used to work for $2 a day. From 6 a.m. until dark, picking cotton in Batesville, Mississippi. $2 a day.
What could you buy with $2 during that time?
Well, you didn't buy anything because at the end of the day, you took the money, you gave it to mom and daddy.
Right.
You know, but it didn't bother me to give them that money because I think I've always tried to live within my means and not be following the Joneses. So, yeah, you know, there was time when you really wanted something and the devil would say, well, if you didn't get that $10,000 away, you could get it. But, you know, the joy that we had, I would go to the school 2 or 3 times a week. And sometimes just to help Mrs. Waters in the classroom, out on the playground. Once or twice a year, we would set sightings. I would take them to Manteca. We would milk the cows, bring the milk and the butter home. That weekend, all of the kids would come to the house and we would have toast and butter. So it became us, and we were one. And I would always say to the students in the class, if you think you're real smart, then you help the one that is not. We all will make it as one, or we all will fail. And
I love that.
Kids,
I love that. We'll all make it as one,
or we all will fail.
That community,
we are this class,
brothers and sisterhood.
You know, must have been when they was in the 11th grade at the junior prom. Robin called me. Micah trying to tell me, this boy, I don't need him. I said, let me tell you one thing. I said, how long have you known Micah? Mama Brown, since we was in first grade. I said, this young man that you're talking about, how long have you known him? He's here at the party. I said, look, whatever Micah tell you, you listen. I said, because you don't want me to have to get up and come out. I'm in the bed.
Right.
That is your brother. Listen to him. He know more about that young man than you ever will.
Yes. Yes.
And at our next meeting, I reiterated this. These are brothers and sisters. Look out for one another and support one another.
Amen.
And those kids today are just as close as they was in 1987.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah, they were a family. They were, and that bond is still there 36 years later.
Wow. I'm just so inspired. I'm feeling so good on this Juneteenth holiday, and I'm just wondering when you said like the devil got on your shoulder, and was like, if you wasn't giving that $10,000 to those students, you could be doing this. You could be in Vegas. You could be in Hawaii, right? Wherever. What was your mental state to fight against that?
My mental state was, I can remember standing in that cotton field in Batesville, Mississippi, looking up to God, saying, God, please get me out of Mississippi. I will do whatever. So when he commissioned me to do this,
amen.
I may tell you a lie. I may make a promise to you. I am smart enough that when you tell God something, sweetheart, you stick by it. So when I made that promise to him to get me out of Mississippi, I'll do whatever. And see, it was only God that could allow me to adopt 23 kids, making $45,000 a year. And in 1999, out of the 23 students, 19 graduated and went on to college, and we have not missed a payment. So it's God. And that's why I really hate doing interviews. I even hate talking about this because it's not me.
Amen.
And one lady said to me, she said, you know what? I have 2 kids and I'm having a hard time telling them to go. So, and she's right. But 19,
use you as a vessel.
I'm just a vessel. And so whatever he directs, tell me, demand, I'm going to do it. It's been a lots of days I wanted to quit.
Send me, I'll go. I don't know if you remember that old song.
I know. Mississippi was one of the worst states in the union. And so I look back on my life at the young girls and boys that was my age and never got a chance to get out of there, died down there. Some of them still farming when they passed away. So I'm very appreciative to what God has done for me. And I will continue to do whatever I can for his people, because those are not my kids. Those are his kids. And so I have to do what he tells me to do.
Wow. Y'all getting this word? We're getting this word on this Monday, Juneteenth. I am certainly getting this word. You kind of talked about Mississippi a little bit. I want to back up a little bit. Tell me about your migratory story from Mississippi to Oakland, California. Because, that's a story that doesn't get talked about a lot.
Yeah.
And I want to hear it.
A lot of people don't know what a number 8 paper bag is. But
I don't know what it is.
A number 8 paper bag was a brown paper bag that when you went to the supermarket in Mississippi and bought groceries, that's what you was given to put your groceries in. Okay. And so I was living with my sister in New York originally, and I had came home to visit my mother. And when it was time for me to go back, I went up to get my $200 so I could go back to New York. And it was a telegraph telling my mother to come to Kansas City to get my brother's body. He was dead. My brother and I took the telegraph to my mother, and she lost it. and my brother was living out here, so he came home.
In Oakland, he was
And
already out
he
here.
was already in Oakland. When he discharged from the military, he was stationed in Fort Ord, and I had an uncle that was living in Oakland, Uncle Garfield, so he came up here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep,
so my mother said, if you will give me your $200 when EQ get here and go back and work 2 weeks, he'll send for you. How can you say no? And in the South, you did what your parents said, and I was only 18, so I didn't have much of a choice. And so when
you're right about that. Yeah.
My brother worked a couple of weeks, he sent the money, but it wasn't $200 because I got my ticket and I only had $7 to $8 left.
Oh, wow.
And that's what I came here with, a number 8 bag with my little clothes in it. I never forget, I had this little orange sweater, this little orange and white skirt, some socks, patent leather shoes, and some white socks. I came here.
Wow.
And he came down to the Greyhound bus station on 17th and picked me up. He was living on 66 in Havensport.
Okay.
And when I got there, I ate, and he looked at me. He said, now you're here, what you going to do?
Dang, didn't give you a minute to breathe? Let me settle in a little bit, bro.
I told him I wanted to go to cosmetology school, so he told his wife to get up that morning and take him to work and to go find a school that I could go to, and she did. Ended up going to Charm Beauty College on 11th and Broadway.
Okay.
And that was in January. In June, I had my cosmetology license and went to work for Lean's Beauty Lounge on 66 in Bancroft.
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about that will, that determination, that tenacity. Like, hey, but you sound like you didn't have much of any choice either.
I didn't. And my brother was the type that you couldn't say no. He worked 2 jobs. He took care of his family. He was really the sole support for my mother after my father died in 1957. And so you would see him work 2 and 3 jobs, and so whatever, you went to work. And he did that, and each year he would bring one of the siblings out here until he got us all. He brought us all here. And so that's where we are. Everyone came except my oldest brother, who lived in Memphis, Tennessee, and he was like, he was 14 years older than me. So he had his own family's life established in Mississippi. We were still a kid.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, he never left Memphis. He stayed there. But everyone else except Alvin and Walter. Well, Alvin was the one that died in Kansas. And then Walter, when he got married, he moved to Memphis, Tennessee. So that's where he resided until he passed away.
All right. How many siblings are left now?
It was 12 of us, and only have
12 brother. Altogether.
Yeah, I only have one brother and one sister.
Amen. Amen. Wow. And you talked about your brother Ezekiel, how when he first was the first of the Brown family to move out to California, and how he was still sending money home.
Absolutely.
To the family. Absolutely. And we don't hear about those stories within Black folks.
You don't, but the same thing with my husband. For the year that we got married, for 1 year, he sent money home to his parents. Because they said he had left, so his space had to be filled. And so he had to send money home. And I asked my mother, and she said, of course he's going to send money home. That's his family. And you need to send some too if you need it, you know. So it was something that was done. So, we did it.
Yeah. Wow. Family dynamics have really changed in 2022. Like, once you left home, you knew that your spot was a void to the family. Absolutely. But you still needed to be able to provide for your family back home and for whatever family you have, like here in Oakland as well.
Absolutely. And men did that back in those days.
On Father's Day we just celebrated, so a lot of great fathers are still doing it.
Yes,
ma'am. Thank you for talking about that a little bit, about your migratory story from Mississippi. I'm also from Georgia myself, so I have my own story, but we talking about you today, so I'll leave that alone. I really want to talk a little bit about just, you kind of spoke about your promise and that beautiful work you've been doing for 36. Wow. 36 years since 1986, 87, 1987. And you were about to, the class that just graduated, that was class number
8.
Class number 8. Wow.
Mhm.
From first grade all the way to
8.
finishing up high
Yeah.
school.
Yeah, you do it. You don't think about it. These are young men and women that without leadership, guidance, support will not be able to make it. And so if I'm one of the one out of millions that are commissioned to do this,
Yeah.
then we do it.
Wow. And yeah, wow. I'm just kind of just touched and then just inspired in so many ways. And we get caught up in, as being an educator myself, we get caught up in all the riffraff, all of the outside pressures, right? From other adults, from politicians, from unions, right? And all of those things at play. But if we all just focus in on the kids, on the students, on the young people in front of us, and have that same dedication, those problems would be gone. We wouldn't care about those problems.
Absolutely.
Which makes me kind of think about those almost 40 years of you being like a change agent, a philanthropist, just a champion for Oakland children. You've seen a lot of changes. You've seen a lot of improvements. You've seen a lot of detriments that are happening. What are some of your observations that you've seen, whether good or bad, that you've seen over the 30, I'll just say almost 40 years of working in Oakland education?
Well, it's almost a cycle. If we don't correct it, it will be repeated. And I can look at some families that where one child graduated and set a different path for the rest of the family. And on the other side, you can look at one child that walked right into the parents' trap. The mother didn't graduate. The grandmother didn't graduate. Now the child is not graduating. And 9 times out of 10, his child will not graduate.
Yeah.
So that cycle has to be broken.
Amen.
And someone has to break it. And so that's one of the things, the kids will come back to me, Mama Brown, what can I do, baby? Whatever Mama Brown don't have, and it costs more than $5, I don't need it. So what I want you to do, whatever you have learned from going through this program, pass it on to your child and your community. Make sure that your child graduate from college. Make sure that your siblings that are younger than you, that you become that role model for him or her. And when you do that, you have done everything that Mama Brown wants you to do.
Passing it along.
Pass it on.
It's not a secret. It's not private. It's not just for me. It's for the community. Wow.
And there's one saying for sure, every child is teachable if you teach him.
And just being able to kind of stand in the gap, you were able to stand in the gap for the motherless, the fatherless, and then you're asking of your students over the past 36 years, if you've been able to impact, to stand in the gap for someone in their family or in their community. And so it's just keep that going, and gets bigger and bigger and grows and grows.
And they mentor some of the younger students. If I have a kid that graduated in finance, and I have either someone in elementary, middle, or high school that want to go into finance, I want that one to be the mentor for him or her. And it has worked out really well. And some of them even went back to the different schools and become mentors. Certainly at Council Mount, I have 2 or 3 students have gone back to Council Mount to be mentors to those students. And I'll ask them, why, Mom Brown, that's what you told us to do. No, I didn't tell you to do that. Yeah, they would throw it on me in a minute. Mom Brown, you told us to do that.
That's funny. which kind of leads me to my next question, Ms. Brown. So you have the observation of the past, like almost 40 years. Um, Dirk really was working on about shedding more light on the state of Black Oakland education. Right, I was um, honored enough to be an impact awardee last year, and so Ms. Brown, what is the state of Black education in Oakland?
Dismal. And I'll say that in a way that hopefully it will bring about a change. We all know education is important. And just this year, it has been announced that 11 schools will be closed, 2 this year, 9 next year, and the year following. And the sad thing about it, all 11 of these schools are in the low income, Black, Hispanic
Mm-hmm.
neighborhoods.
Yeah, all of them.
If these schools are closed, which they probably will be, that means kids, some of them will not get to school because the parents will not have the material, the money, and the cars to take
The
them.
knowledge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to take them there. That's number one. The other problem is a lot of kids will just drop out. They'll drop out.
Oh.
And the state does not monitor this process. We went through it in 1995. Went through it.
Yeah.
Well, 126 students that started out in elementary school, and in graduation, it was 1,456 students
Okay.
that started out.
No.
And up on graduation, 126 kids was missing.
Wow.
Dr. Shelby worked with me to do this study.
Okay.
And I went to the school and say, 126 students are missing. Tell me, where are they?
So you went to the OUSD school board or superintendent?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I gave them an option, Did they move and leave California?
Mm-hmm.
Are they in jail? Or are they deceased? There should be accountability. If a man break out of prisoner, Santa Rita jail this afternoon, I guarantee you this afternoon will be a breaking news alert on the TV.
Yep. Yeah.
Convict has escaped.
Yes.
So where are these 126 students that are not counted for?
Yes. Does anybody care?
And that's this question I asked.
Because they are Black and brown
they
students.
They are Black and brown students. And I said to the parents, these kids belong to someone. Are you not concerned about this? And I was told that I was just going overboard and that I expected too much. And I don't think that's true, that you want to know
it's a crisis.
What happened to a child.
Yeah. It's a crisis. We need to shed light on it.
Yeah.
What's happening to those students?
Yeah, it's sad. And I'm sure it's happening now, but no one is monitoring it.
Yeah.
And so we don't know where they are.
Yeah. Yeah. Just from my own point of view, I don't hear a lot about folks talking about dropout rates. I know there has been a lot of campaigns. NAACP have been doing some things. I know Kareem Weaver been talking about literacy, which is great. I know Lakeisha over at Oakland Reach, she's been doing a good job about getting parents involved around literacy, around math. Oh,
yeah, she's right there.
Okay.
Bancroft.
Oh, okay. I didn't know where the offices were. So you guys are in the same community. So work on that. But then, which are contributing factors of high school dropout, but being able to really shed more light. I love that. So school closures are affecting Black students. High number of high school dropouts are some of the things that show us the state of Black Oakland education. When we think about that, we talked about some of the issues, but what do you think of some of those issues? You kind of shedded light on some of the things that are not going well in Oakland education.
Yeah, but
what are some of the bright spots? What are some solutions to this?
Solution to it, I really believe, Mr. Lemons, they have a program, the Hidden Genius Project.
Oh.
That is a positive organization here, and it's right there on Foothill, right across from East Mountain Mall.
Oh, okay.
That's really positive.
Okay.
I really feel that the Early Brown Foundation,
Hey,
our
say
graduation
that.
rate, these kids are graduating and they are making a change, even in their family, So that is positive.
Amen.
I really think that something will reach. That's a positive, but it needs so much more because that bridge is so wide, and the little gaps that we are filling in, you have to almost search for them to find them.
Yeah, you do.
You really do.
The bridge is so wide. I like that. Sorry, continue.
And so those are things that are positive. But one thing that I don't know, it just really bothers me, that accountability. We are not in a third world country, and a child should not be able to just vanish without accountability from someone, be it the parent, the teacher, the police department, the missing child bureau. It bothers me that your life is not worth looking for or searching for.
Yeah, and I really want to highlight one of your solutions. You talk about, lack of accountability, high school dropouts, truancy, things of that nature. And I think one of the big solutions that you have for Oakland, for East Oakland, is the Orally Brown boarding school.
Absolutely.
We mentioned it in the article, but I want you to go into it a little bit more with us today.
I mean, sometimes something is so simple until people dismiss it. And that should not be the case. We have, in some sense, worked on this for over 15 years.
With Dirk way back then, yeah.
I even have been to Mrs. Collins' school in Chicago, Mrs. Mims' school in Cleveland, Ohio.
And those are boarding schools?
Those are boarding schools.
Okay.
The biggest one is Pinewood in Mississippi. It's the oldest Black boarding school in the United States.
What?
Yes.
What's the name of it again?
Pinewood, Mississippi. Pinewood boarding school in Mississippi, and it's the oldest one.
Wow.
And I met with Marie Schreiber, and they honored me in 2010.
Okay.
And it was one of the
name
things.
Dropping?
Well, yes, because she said she wouldn't give no definite dollar amount, but it would be something that she would support.
Okay.
And she's a Kennedy.
Yes.
Kennedy's. It's money.
Yeah.
But I have made the plan what this could work. I would need about 10 acres of land on the outskirts of Oakland, freeway, etc. And I would need that because I only need about 6 acres for the school itself. But with the housing situation in California, a lot of time good teachers are omitted because they cannot afford the housing.
True. Tell me about it.
And so those other 8 acres would be houses and apartments. I'm a real estate broker, so I know how to do the building.
Okay.
We would build about 4 to 5 acres of housing and the rest in apartments.
Wow.
There are some people that would love to buy. There are some that want nothing to do with buying. They just want to rent.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would have that option. And it would be rented at below market.
Oh, wow.
Teachers would get first preference
Yes.
in below market. It would be based on 1/3 of their salary and not $1 more.
Oh,
that's number
that's a
one.
recruitment tool right there.
It is. And number two, you're right there on the site, gated in.
Okay.
You gate it in, so you don't have to worry about this. The boarding school would be open 7 days a week. Now, we have already talked and worked with UC Berkeley and Cal State East Bay.
Oh, yes.
Monday through Thursdays.
Okay.
From 3:30 or 4 to 7. There will be students from those colleges there to work with our students
Wow.
and make sure homework is done.
And tutoring and all of that.
Tutoring, all of that.
Okay.
And one of the reasons kids drop out, they don't want to be embarrassed. When you cannot do your homework and you're being called on,
yes,
and you cannot respond positive,
yes,
in a few days the teacher will not see you.
Yes.
So when a kid go to bed at night, they can get a really good night's sleep. Number one,
yeah,
they are protected because they're there at the boarding
Safety.
school. And number two, they can not stress at all. Homework is done.
Yeah.
Good night, baby. The next
and
morning.
the food, you talked about the food too.
Food. The cafeteria is open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Okay.
There will be 3 meals each day, and there are 2 snacks.
Okay.
So a kid will not go to bed hungry.
Amen.
And I can assure you, probably 20 to 30% of kids in Oakland go hungry every day or every night because it's not enough food.
Yeah.
But yet it's still
crimes.
And we are throwing away 20 or 30% of all the food. Look at all these restaurants and hotels, and even some of the cafeteria.
Yeah.
They were saying that there's cafeterias where students will not eat, but at the end of the day, the food is thrown away.
Yeah, they do. I see it happening at my school. And it's sad.
It would eliminate truancy.
Okay.
It would eliminate the kids being hungry.
Mm-hmm.
And it sure would eliminate kids running and dodging from bullets at night. This school would be secure with security guards there 24/7.
Amen. Amen. The vision is there.
The vision is
there.
The
need is there.
The need is there.
The inspiration is there.
Yeah.
We just need it to happen.
We need it to happen. And you look at all of these billionaires and millionaires, and all you need is 24 millionaires to give you $100,000.
And you got it.
We can get started because in 5 to 10 years, the property will be paid for from the houses we sell.
Oh.
From the houses that are sold will pay for the apartments that we are renting in the schools.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Wow.
We did the blueprint. And it would even maybe be less time because back then the average house was running about $800,000. Every house in the hill now is over $1 million.
So what do you need from the folks that are out here looking for today? To me, that's a call of action.
It's a call of
For
action.
me, I'm going to come around. I'm going to do some of the tutoring and stuff for the students on Saturday. And that's on Saturdays.
Starting the second week in September.
Okay.
Yes, on Saturdays from 9 to 12.
Yeah.
And the one teacher will not be teaching all the time. Each teacher only teach 2 hours.
Okay.
So
there's tutors out there needed. Give me some more stuff. Call to action.
Volunteers are needed.
Okay.
And those are just anyone. Now you have the rich people. They're out there. We have 60 students which will be in school in September.
Mm-hmm.
Are there someone out there who want to pay for one of those kids' college tuition? College tuition now is running $10,000 to $15,000 a year.
Yes.
And you can start now, and in 12 years, you're only paying $1,000 a year. So it's easy and it's simple. The millionaires can pay for 4 years of college, and we will give you that student's name. You can call him or her once a month to see how he or she is doing.
Yes. Y'all hear that?
And the pride and the peace of mind you will get in your heart Yeah, I've had rough days and I've had some rough nights, but the good days and the good nights, when that kid walk across that stage and said, Mom, I don't have to worry no more. I can take care of myself the rest of my life. Yeah. That's a good feeling because I know my baby won't be out on the street no more.
What do we need to do? Are we having an open call also to OUSD school board members? We're talking about Brookfield. We know they're on the chopping blocks for next year. You need a building, right? In the beginning, and you can grow up to that 10 acres of land. Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, Brookfield was a school that I adopted in 1987. That's where the first group of kids came from. Mm-hmm. Now, they're closing Brookfield Elementary School next year.
Yes, ma'am.
Why can't that school be sold or donated to the Early Brown Foundation?
Say that again.
The Brookfield Elementary School in 1987 is where I adopted the first group of kids. There they are there.
We're going to try to talk
Why
about them a little bit.
Can't that school be donated or sold to the Early Brown Foundation? It's still an education facility and always will be.
And don't overprice it. Because you've been doing the work for almost 40 years.
That's right.
The percentages you talked about, 83% of your students that are part of your foundation are going on to a 4-year college.
Yes. Paid for by the Early Brown Foundation. OUSD does not pay for one kid's education.
And get that, no student debt. That's a huge thing that's going on now with the Biden administration. We're fighting over how much money. Her students don't have that issue.
They don't have that issue. When they walk out of school with that cap and gown,
hey,
they are free as a bird. They can fly away.
Wish I would have had you back in my day.
I wish that I had me too.
Plus of student debt that I joined.
I wish that I had me too.
So we're about to wrap up soon, but we're not saying our goodbyes yet. We only got a couple more minutes left, but I want you guys to see. If you guys see around the room, we'll move the camera a little bit, and you guys can see that these are all pictures of students that have come through the Orally Brown Foundation. Their picture, the name of the university attended, the accepted letters, the number of universities that they applied to. Ms. Brown, go ahead and talk to us a little bit about
some of them, Julius, Deshaw, Michael, and Franco, the 4 of them graduated from UC Berkeley. Julius went on and received his master's from Ann Arbor, Michigan, and Julius is in med school as we speak. Jai Stevenson graduated from Alabama State. She will be going to law school this fall. We have
you got what's my man from Morehouse?
There's Zachary Johnson up there, graduated from Morehouse. When he graduated that night at the banquet, he received an offer from the Federal Home Loan Bank with $100,000 for stock.
Woo! I don't even make that money.
San Jose State, we had 2 this year graduated from UCLA.
Okay, got some Bruins in the house.
Delisha graduated from UC Davis.
Yes, ma'am. SF State.
There, Robert graduated from Southern University. And there's San Francisco State. Fulton. There's San Francisco State. And we have 2 right there. They went to San Jose State together. And both of them graduated together from San Jose State.
Yes. And I love the diversity. I see Black faces here. I see Latino faces here. I see some Asian faces. She's impacting
Maria
everyone.
Graduated from New York. And Destiny graduated from Penn State. One graduated from Penn State, one from Syracuse University, and one from NYU.
You hear that?
They went to school together, and they graduated together.
Proud mama here. Proud mama here.
I was in New York that Friday evening. Saturday, I was at Penn State, and then that Sunday, I was at Syracuse. And I was tired. It was Mother's Day, and my daughter called me so upset. Mom, you know it's Mother's Day? I said, yes. Well, we're here. I said, I'm at a graduation, baby, and I love you.
Wow. The pure joy, the enthusiasm, the love. It's been quite a pleasure to have Miss Orally Brown here as we celebrate Juneteenth. Happy belated Father's Day to those fathers out there. Also, happy Pride as well for the month of June. Ms. Brown, is there anything else you want to leave us with as we close out this first podcast for the Oakland Educator Series? And I hope and pray that there's many, many more to come. What else? What else is out there you want to leave us with before we close out?
Bethune-Cookman College and Florida A&M. Those was two students that it was a struggle, but God knows. Albert Jenkins, Florida A&M, and Sarah at Bethune-Cookman College. Just delightful young ladies. And Nikita was another one. Graduated from Chico State Bachelor's, a master's from Sacramento State. She works in the head office at Kaiser Hospital in Sacramento.
Oh, okay.
So those students have really done well, and I'm proud of them.
Amen.
I'm just proud of them that they allowed me to play a little small portion of their life.
A huge portion of your life. Come on now, don't sell yourself short, Ms. Brown. If you want to, you stood in that gap. If it wouldn't have been you, we don't know where some of our students, these scholars behind us, would have ended up.
That's true.
Maybe not at UC Berkeley for sure. So once again, I just want to thank everyone for joining us for our podcast here with Great School Voices, where we're highlighting our Oakland Educator Series. There's been 2 pieces that have been put out, written by myself, highlighting Roberta Parker, and now today, Miss Orly Brown. Please be sure to go and support the Orly Foundation, either with your time as being tutorings as we start in the fall, through volunteering, and also through funding to keep this dream alive as she's finishing up her 36th year of The Promise. Also, check out her book, The Promise. You can find that on Amazon. And again, go to OrlyBrownFoundation.org for any type of support. And thank you guys again for joining us today as we celebrate Juneteenth. Goodbye, everybody, and enjoy your day. See you later.